Scammers are shifting their tactics and in many cases claiming to be from utility companies and threatening to cut off service unless people pay up. For more on this trend and other scams to be aware of, we're joined tonight by Alex Quilici, the CEO of YouMail, the Southern California-based developer of robocall blocking software. Alex, great to have you on tonight. We appreciate the time. So scammers, it sounds like they are increasingly trying to take advantage of people who may have fallen behind on their gas or their electric payments. How are they convincing people to give them money?
Well, the thing is that a lot of people are now behind on their electric payments. It's 1 in 6 families. And the way they convince them is they simply call up and say, your electricity or your service is going to be disconnected in the next 30 minutes, and you need to make a payment immediately. Unfortunately, you're paying the scammer and not the electric company if you make a payment then.
What are some of the mistakes that people are making when it comes to how to handle these calls? What is your advice for what to do if you get one of these calls and how to know it's not the real deal?
So the right thing to do is simply assume that it's fraud and hang up. And if you're worried that it might really be your utility company, go look at your bill and call the number there. Go to the utility company's website and call the number there. Never assume that an inbound call is who they say they are, because the odds are they're not.
It sounds like these scammers behind these robocalls are constantly shifting their tactics. I know you track this stuff, but how do they decide what the approach is going to be at any given moment?
The basic thing the scammers do is they want to have their calls turn into what we'd call a conversion, where they get a scam that's successful. So they look for areas or topics where they're most likely to see that happen. And right now, if 1 in 6 families are behind on the bills, it really means 1 in 6 phone calls that a robocaller makes is going to hit someone behind their bills. So there's a huge number of susceptible people. Our prediction is that's going to scale up as energy costs continue to rise and more people fall behind their bills. We're also seeing that with student loans. Since so many people in America have a student loan, that's another ripe area for scammers.
Yeah, I was going to say, right, that's obviously top of mind for a lot of people. You're hearing about it in the news, and everyone's trying to get a part of that debt forgiveness program announced by the Biden administration. Are you seeing a lot of people being deceived in that way as they try to look for loan forgiveness?
We're starting to see the student loan scams come up too. There's more and more of those. I think the utility scam is a little scarier because a lot of the people who are behind on their utility scams can't afford to pay a scammer $200 or $300. If they could, they would have paid their utility. So it's extremely harmful when someone falls for that scam. And the average utility scam is $650. So when they're successful, they're really successful.
Yeah, that hurts, especially folks who are already behind on those payments. Obviously, there's a lot of technology that's out there, including that which has been developed by your company that's meant to block these robocalls. Is all of it making a difference? Are we starting to make any sort of a dent here?
So we think so. I mean, every consumer should have a robocall blocking app on their phone. Ours is called YouMail, but there are others. The main reason to have it is it'll filter out a lot of the bad calls so you don't have to. Some calls will still get through, and consumers need to change their behavior to not trust that incoming call. Let it roll to voicemail and then call the utility directly, not whatever number might have been left on your voicemail. When consumers do that, it's fairly unlikely they're going to fall for the scam. Our company is also working with attorneys generals and others to provide them examples of illegal call traffic that we see, which they then use to try to investigate and shut down the scammers. So we think it's starting to make a difference, but it's not a problem that's going away quickly.
No, certainly not. Before I let you go beyond the robocalls, what about the robotexts? I'm being inundated right now with a lot of these texts, a lot of them political texts right now. Obviously, we're in election season, but others that appear to be scams. Is there anything we can do about those?
So robotexts are starting to have more and more tools that can block them too. I think the focus has been on robocalls because they're the most successful. When the phone rings and you're suddenly talking to somebody, it's a harder situation to deal with than when you get a text message. You can look at it and kind of decide over time, what do you do? But our prediction is that robotexts are going to become a bigger and bigger problem over the next year or two, unfortunately rivaling robocalls.
Yeah, unfortunately so. Okay, we appreciate the time and the insight tonight. Alex Quilici, CEO of YouMail. Really appreciate you coming on. Thank you.